Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining the AEBG TOPS Pro Enterprise Basics webinar today. Presenting today, we have Laurel and Patty Long from CASAS. Before we get started, I would like to go over a few things. If you have any questions, please type them into the chat pod that's located in your right-hand corner. Also, for support requests, please contact AEBG TAP at aebg.org/contact us. If you would like to send us an email, please email us at tap@aebg.org. We now have an 800 number. It's 888-TAP-AEBG. After this webinar, within 24 hours, you'll be sent an evaluation. Please be on the lookout for upcoming webinars. We have one on Friday, July 28th. That will be our Data Integrity Report Cleanup webinar. And like I said, if you have any questions, please type in the chat pod. Now I will turn it over to Patty Long, who will have a few words to speak, and then Laurel will go through the webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Veronica. Hi, everybody. We've got two handouts for you today. You do not need them during the training. The first one is the TE Basics Participants. This is our 3-hour document that we use for training at Summer Institute and at the regional trainings. But you can work through it yourself if you want some more information about using your TE database. The next one, Importing, Editing, Manual Entry document, is just the editing and manual entry portions of that big TE Basics document, including the importing from third-party attendance systems training document that Laurel uses. Again, we're not going through everything in these documents, so that's why it's better for review after the training. We just want you to be a sponge today. So I'm going to hand it over to Laurel Dureau, our big importing guru at CASAS. So Laurel, you're good to go.
All right. Thank you, Patty. Hello, everybody. My name is Laurel Dureau. Some of you may know my voice because I've spoken to you, a few of you over the phone already, assisting with technical support. I am in that department. I've been with CASAS for a long time. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. Basically what this is a show and tell of how to manually import data into TOPS Pro Enterprise, as well as importing your data into the TOPS Pro Enterprise system from a third party system that you may keep your attendance in. All right, so we're going to get started here. Now, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. So now, you log into TOPS Pro, you come to this big blank screen here, and you have your menu across the top here, TE, View, Organization, Records, Reports, Tools, Help. Now, Organization, I'll explain this real quick. When you click on Organization, this information has to do with your agency information. Most of you who are in California will, you may see the AEBG consortia. Those that aren't in California, you won't see it. The first thing you'll see is agencies. So that will tip you off and notify or let you know that any information under the organization menu deals with agency information. Okay. Now under records in the records menu, you'll see that the first thing that shows up is students. So you'll know right away anything under the records menu deals with the student information. Okay, so now all records will go in here and find students. We have students, and that has a sub-menu of demographic, in-program year, in-program years, and records. We also have classes, shows you the enrollments and the class records, and then we have our programs, our program enrollments and records, and then our tests. Now, when we go to manually create a student record, the first thing you want to start with is students and demographics. Okay, and that pops up here. You see we have a list of students, or maybe not, they haven't brought them over into the new year yet. So to create a new student, you go here, upper left-hand corner, and click New. All right, once you click new, you see it opens up with a new student information form where you can manually enter the student ID, first name, middle name, last name, your gender, date of birth, social security number if you collect that, any DPID, SSID, that type of information. You also have educational information that can be entered there. And then we have down below ethnicity, race, and language. And then we have address, contact, provider use, and then consumer information down here below. Now, you may not have all that information. It's okay if you don't. All of it is not mandatory information to fill in. What is mandatory, though, is you need to put in the student ID there, and then first name, all right. And now, as far as TOPS Pro is concerned, it will allow us to save this information, but once we click save, it will notify you that it is some information that is missing, that is optional, that you can place in there. So if I click save here, you see, you have to select the site. So you can't have the agency there. So I'll click OK. Let's put them in the North Campus. Okay, and so you see once I did that, it flags in red the information that's missing. So once you save, if there's information that is very pertinent or that is mandatory, such as a site, you'll get that saying you have to select the site. It won't let you go any farther or further. So once you select the site, now if I click save, see, here are some optional validation rules that are not met. I can save anyway. It normally wants you to select the gender. You can put the gender in if you choose to. If not, it will allow you to save the record without entering the gender at that time. You can always go back in later once this has been created, and you're able to view that information. All right, so we'll go ahead and click yes. We'll save that, and we've saved it. All right, so can everybody still see my screen? Is everything okay? Okay,
Yes.
Good deal. All right, so now we've saved the student with the minimum information needed. Now what we'll do is, if we close this, now you'll see Jerry Lewis is there. Okay, no other information has been collected, which is fine. So now this student is in the student demographics that we've entered is now in the database. Now, if we happen to close this, and this happens a lot to a lot of the users, they'll enter the demographic information, they'll close the demographics lister. Now then, once they get their full student demographics in, they have a list of students that they put in, they will then go back to records, students, they will open the demographics lister, and nothing appears. So, yes?
Laurel, it looks like your screen might have frozen back on the new student information.
Oh, wow, okay.
Can you F5
Let's
it?
see. There we go. Is that better? All right,
Yay.
Good deal. Okay, so then I'll start over. All right, so the agency, the user has went in, they've put in multiple student demographic records, they close the demographic lister. After they've entered that information, it will show when you first enter, so they close the demographic lister, and then they come back to records, students, demographics. They click there, nothing shows up. So what do most agencies do? Oh, I know I put this information in here, but it's not showing up, so they're going to try to do it again. So now I'm going to try this again, start out with North Campus, because this is what normally happens. Put that information in. So now I have that information in again. I click save. Says, do I want to save anyway? I'll click yes. And there we go. It says a record with the same information and key fields already exists. And duplicates are not allowed for this object type, student ID. So what this is telling you that this student ID has already been created, but is not, so you're not allowed to create it again. If we close this new student, no, we don't want to save the changes. It doesn't show up. The reason why it doesn't automatically show up when you open the demographics lister if you've closed it is because the demographics lister is set to filter by active students. And what I mean by active students, it's set to filter for students who have records dated between the current program year dates of July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018. Okay, so each year when July 1st rolls around, what it does is it hides those demographic records because now these students, as far as the program is concerned, are no longer active because July 1st starts a new program year. So to find those students, you would just click on filter, and there's two ways you can do it. We can click on this red X here and remove the program year, or we can also click this where it says default. Click the down arrow there, select all, click OK, and here are all of our hidden students that hadn't rolled over into the new program year. Okay, so now we entered that one student. We want to specifically look for that one student. There's two ways. You can filter and click the down arrow here and select contains, and then we can type in part of the ID if you only know part of the ID right then, and click OK. Here's Jerry Lewis, who we created previously here, and it also shows the other students with that number combination in their student ID. Okay, you can also do that filtering by name. So if we click the red X and click filter and select contains there, now I can either type in the first name or the last name. So if I type in Lewis and hit enter or click OK, you'll see it brings up all the Lewises. So there's Jerry Lewis there as well. So that's how you manually create demographics for a student. That's how you filter for a student and find them once you've created demographics without any other records. All right, so what we'll do now is create the rest of the records. I'll show you how to create entry records or enrollment records and program enrollment records. So we'll double click on Jerry. And now this to me is the best way to create your student information manually. Once you create the demographics lister, or sorry, not demographics lister, once you create the demographics record for that student and save it, then on the left side you'll have a navigator list that will appear. So the next thing you want to do is go here to class enrollments. Okay, and then again, class enrollments, we'll go ahead and click new. And now, why this is a lot easier than going records, classes, and enrollment is because once you're in the student information window and you go to class enrollments under the navigator, it automatically populates the program year and the student's name, so that you don't have to type in. It's already there for you. Then all you would need to do is select the class instance. Of course, none is here because none of that information has been rolled over into the new program year. You would select the class date or start date at the date that they entered the class, and then you would mark them as active. All right, now I know it's not going to let me save without a class. That's what I figured. So hold on here. I'm going to pause this here and get a class set up. Just a second.
And while Laurel's setting up that class to show you, you know that you can easily do this for your previous year's records, which is what's due in August. You can go to organization and change the program year temporarily so that it shows everybody in the 16-17 year, or you can go into your lister and filter just for the 16-17 year. Remember with those with that demographic data, you have to have the birth date for the student, highest year of school completed, highest diploma, whether it occurred in or out of the U.S., their ethnicity, race, native language, and that's the language spoken at home, date of entry, instructional program, any special programs that apply, and those employment barriers. Oh, and labor force status.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Patty. So I have created a class there, and now I should be able to click class instance, and I probably need to do this. Why is it not showing up? Let's see. I probably need to start over, so because it wasn't there prior to. So we'll double click on Jerry. Go back to class enrollments, new. All right, there. Select student and program year. Why is the class not coming up? I'm in Site 1. All right, here we go. Got it. So, class enrollments, click new, and then it was user error because I created the class in the wrong site there. So let's do a new class. Program year 18. Class definition. All right, so now if I go new here, there we go. All right, there we go. Sorry about the user error. So you would select your class instance there, and then you would click save here. All right, so now he entered the class July 1st. Well, he's an active student. All right, so if we close this here, it takes us back. Now it shows us the class enrollment that the student has. Now, although this student is enrolled in a class, he's not necessarily enrolled in the program, even though it's an ABE class. So the next thing we want to do is jump down here to program enrollments and create new program enrollment. And again, since we're in the student information, the current program year and the student name already appears. So all we need to do is select basic skills, ABE, and now we can type in today's date if we choose to say he entered on the program today, or we can put July 1st of, since that's the start of the new program year. So we'll go ahead and enter the date he entered the program since this is new and save that. All right, so now we will close this. And now we have a program enrollment as well as a class enrollment. Now, when you're creating or when you're manually entering information, class enrollment, a student needs an enrollment form for each class that they are in. So if they're in the ABE intermediate class, if they're in the ABE math class, if they're in the ABE reading class, they would need 3 enrollment forms, 1 for each class. Excuse me, sorry about that. Now, as far as enrollments, program enrollments, they would only need 1 program enrollment per program. So they're in 3 ABE classes, but they only need 1 ABE program enrollment. Now, if they were in a high school diploma class, then they would need a high school diploma enrollment if they were in that if they were in that program. So now they would have 2 program enrollments, but you would have 4 classes, 3 ABE, 1 high school diploma. All right, so is everybody clear on that? I can't hear anything and I can't see the chat thing there. I'm sorry. Okay, so that's how you would enter student. Okay, good deal. Thank you, Patty. That's how you would enter the student information manually. Now, if you want to filter and find specific information per student, the best place to filter for that information would be in demographics. So I'll go ahead and close this here, and I'll clear this. And now, of course, everybody comes up good because I've cleared the filter. Now, this filter button can be used to filter out quite a few things, okay, or filter for quite a few things. So once you click filter, you can click here. These are some preset filters. We can, for those that ABG CTE class but no CTE program, so if I select this, this will show me all the students who are enrolled in a CTE designated class but are not enrolled in the CTE program. Okay, I can go here and select in current program year. It would only show those students who are in the current program year. I can select this here. This will show me all students who are missing a class enrollment or a program, or sorry, nope, this is for class enrollment, student enrollment. This is missing class enrollment. Those who are not enrolled in a funded program, so they're not enrolled in ABE, ESL, high school diploma, HSC, or any of the AEBG programs. This will show me students who have no activity at all. These show me programs, students who are missing program enrollment. So they have a class enrollment, but they don't have an ESL or an ABE or high school diploma program enrollment. Okay? All right, so, and then here's the all. And then, of course, we have enrolled in class, but no CTE program. So that's the same thing here, CTE class, but no CTE program. And then by class enrollment, it'll show the students in order of the class that they're enrolled in. And then our adults with disabilities enrolled in funded programs and those who are age 55 or older but no older adults program. Okay, so you can choose one of the preset filters, or what I do is normally go by default and then click OK. So now it's only going to bring Jerry up, because now he has a record there. So I can do filter and say here, click on this plus, and you can add and or not. So you can add and, which means both of them have to be correct. Either one of them needs to be correct if you select or one has to be and the other one has to be missing if you select not. Okay, so if we just say, and right now it defaults to and, so we'll say plus, how was this information inserted? So student information, We go over here under student, and we select insert method. Now we can click the down arrow here, and we can select whether it was manually created, whether it was imported, whether it was done by scanning, whether the record was created by proxy, or if it came through the eTest program. All right, so we'll close that, click OK. So now we just have Jerry here. Now, the next thing we can do, if you want to sort this lister here, we can go to columns. And now, this list over here, let me scroll up here to the top. These are the selected columns. So these are what are already showing. So here's the site. That's the top. Student ID is next. Full name is next. Birth date, so forth and so on. So now you can add other columns by going through here, columns, or click OK. You can just right-click on this gray open area here, and here's your shortcut to select those columns this way. All right, and if you want to sort, and let's just open this up all the way. So if we want, we can say, we'll right-click here in gender and say, show age, right? So now we can click on filter or sort here. It sorts by age. If we want, we can also filter and select the age range if that's what we want to do. If you're looking for a specific age range, you can do that also by birth date. Close this. Filter here. We can do it by birth date. And then a neat trick here is if we sort by name, if we click up, it's alphabetical from A to Z. And now, say we want to sort by name and then sort by birth date, you would hold the Control key and click the sort arrow for birth date. You see it puts a 1, which means it's going to sort by name first. Then it puts a 2 on the next one that you click on, so it's going to sort by birthday second. All right, so there is that. Now, do we have, and I can't hear the questions or see the questions, so is everybody okay with manually importing, or why am I saying importing? Manually creating student records. Okay, good deal. All right, so now we've created the student records. That was the hard part. I'm going to show you how to edit the information now. All right, so we have our listed demographics. And we see Alex Fuentes here. He's in Site 7, and he's also in Site 11. So to edit information, or better yet, let's see what I can do. So is anybody missing a birth date? Okay, here we go. Moving a little slow there. All right, so if I go here and select users, there we go, administrator, there we go, desktop and tech support. Is it in tech support or is it in downloads? Let's see. Maybe not downloads. There we go. Okay. So I'll select my third-party attendance, and it's probably going to give me an error message because I don't have the... Okay, so now to answer the earlier question, about changing program years to make sure you get data in to the 16-17. Now, this is the way I would say to do it because it doesn't affect those who are using the eTest Online system. You have the option, okay, we're in the 17-18 program year. If I click this box here, this will allow the records outside of the 17-18 program year to be imported into the database without me needing to go in and change the default program year. Okay, so we'll go ahead and click next there. I'm probably going to get the error message, of course. Yep. So, of course, I don't have the ability to make changes here in the database because it's a dummy database wide. So let's see if I cancel that. It's still acting like it wants to do that. So let's try. Okay, I'll try one from the previous year. So let's see if we go back and we'll just use the old WIA here and it should allow me to, yes. CSV file, browse here, and we'll say administrator, desktop, tech support, third party, SI. There we go, 7050, open. Next, and again here it still has the same thing, so you would allow records with dates outside of the current program year to be created. And now here is import instructional hours as cumulated hours. That's an option, and I'm not sure if that wants to be used now with the periods of participation because now they want you to keep hours a little better.
No periods of participation.
Oh, okay. Then great.
ABG.
What this does is import instructional hours as cumulated. If your attendance system, if you export hours out of your attendance system at the end of the year, pretty much cumulated, you're telling the program, hey, these are the total amount of hours since July 1st that this student has been in the program. If you leave this unchecked, the hours will come in as either, not daily, I want to say just regular update hours since the last update. That's what it is, not daily. Hours since the last update, and then the program will add the hours together each time you update or import hours of attendance. All right? So we'll leave that unchecked and we'll click next. Okay, so now it shows some process records have been found to be invalid. That's fine. We'll click next. All right, so here we are here, invalid, and as you can see it tells us why it's invalid is because we can't create new sites, which is fine. It shows us the student IDs there. All right, shows our...
So they need to create any sites that are new before they run the...
Right, now that depends on their access level. If they have the correct access level, it will allow them to create the site, but instead of saying invalid here, what it will do is it will say requires review, which means that are you sure that this is the correct site that you wanted to go into, or if the agency ID is incorrect, or no, you can't create an agency, so skip that. Yes, it will say pretty much, is this the correct site that you wanted to go to, okay? And so now that it's telling me that I don't have the access to create new site records, what I can do is I'll click on the first one, and now I can either scroll to the bottom, hold my shift key down, and click on the last one, and it highlights them all, or I could have just hit Control A to do the same thing. Edit records. Now that they're all highlighted, anything that I select in here will affect every record, okay? So if I check site because it's saying I don't have the right, and I'll select site 01. Okay, so now there's the site there. If I want to put this in a particular class, site 1001. Now remember, none of these, only one student has a class enrollment in this current, well, that's in this current year, so they may have them in the last year. So now that's going to be put on all of the records that I just selected. So I'll go ahead and click Save. Now you notice it clears all of the invalid records. Now they're ready to be imported. Okay. Now we were talking about name and demographics, why you would want those imported first. So this helps because once you click on Load Existing Data, what this does is it goes through and it checks these ID numbers and says, hey, if this ID number has a name attached to it already in the database, go ahead and populate it here. This helps out because you'll know if these are returning students or new students. If they're new students, the names will not pop up on these records. It'll just be blank. Lets you know that you need to go ahead and either import your demographic record, depending on how many students there are, or you can manually enter the student name if you choose to by selecting that record by itself and then clicking Edit Records. So I'll click Load Existing, and depending on your data set, yes, it could take a long time, depending on how many records you're importing at the time. So we'll go ahead and click Yes. Hopefully this doesn't take too long. All right, so all of these students are brand new. Okay, none of the names popped up there. And because there are quite a few that appeared with no names, you would just need to import your demographics again. If it was one student, you would just double click on the one student or click once and click Edit Records. Then you can go ahead and check these boxes and enter the student's name. Okay. We'll cancel this. All right, now these records are ready to be imported. They're going into class 1001. We're not getting, although these dates are 2015, it will allow them because we checked the box, which I know you guys won't have a problem with because it'll just be the previous year. So what does this look like? These look like they could be updates. A lot of them are. So what we'll do, highlight the first one, hit Control A, Edit Records. And now we'll go ahead and put an update date of June 30th, 2017. Click Save. Now you'll see that I overwrote all of those dates that were in there prior. It's going to show our attendance hours here. So now I'll click Next. All right, all 28 records are valid. According to what we have fixed, doesn't necessarily mean that they are valid. When it checks against the database to make sure that all records have the required information, it will let us know if they have been accepted or not. So we'll go ahead and click Next.
So, Laurel, I've got a question from Sandy Kawamura.
Okay.
She says, if demographic records are all in, do we have to load names for every other import, or will TE automatically assign to the correct student, or bring in as blank and we would have to assign it in TE anyway?
No, if the demographics, all right, it's successfully imported. So now if we click Finish and go to Records, Classes, Records, and we will filter for the previous program year. Okay, click OK. And now if I just select Class Contains 1001, there are our updates that we just brought in here. The ones with no name, of course. All right, so now the question is, no, you do not have to load existing data if it's blank and the name, you have a lot and you don't want to sit there for a long time to let the names populate. You don't have to do that. Once you click next, it will attach those records to by ID number to the demographic record that's already in there, and it'll go right there with into the correct student record. So you don't have to populate the names. You don't have to do any of that if you choose not to. If it takes too long for you, it will, once you import it, the name will then automatically appear on the records once they, run any report after that.
And then Stacy's saying that the only thing she loads the names on is when she scans tests.
Yes, that is correct. All right.
And Andy says, thank you, thank you.
All right. So do we have any other questions about how to import or manually create data or edit data that's in the TOPS Pro Enterprise program?
Let's see, I've got some questions coming in.
Good deal.
All right. August 1st is the end of the year data that's due. Yes. TOPS Pro Enterprise due. Yes. How is it different than quarter end data? Because, Stephen, the data that you want to turn in now is from July 1st to June 30th. The quarterly data has been from July 1st to September 30th, July 1st to December 30th, etc. So now we want the whole fiscal year. And some more people typing. Oop, multiple attendees are typing. Ooh, exciting.
Ooh.
Uh-oh. Susan Coulter.
All right.
Got a big one. Can you read it, Laurel, from where you are? Our assessment center has been working hard to get students pre-tested before school begins so they can be properly placed in the appropriate level. However, these tests are not showing up on either the NRS DIR or ABG DIR for the current school year. I understand that the problem is due to periods of participation. We don't want to retest. You don't need to retest. Is there a workaround? And yes, there will be. Don't worry about that periods of participation because it'll be ignored on, I know it's not convenient for you, but it'll be ignored on our end when that data comes in. And yes, they're working on it.
Right.
So that it's not interfering.
And also, for those who are in California, I'm sorry if anybody is not in the state of California, but for those of you who are, if you run the payment points DIR, that the periods of participation criteria is not in effect there, so you will get a better reading of your information.
Thanks, Laurel. That's good. And then Stephen's asking if there's no change from last quarter, does it mean we do not need to submit? No, it does not. You still need to submit for the entire fiscal year, even if there's no change from the last quarter. You want to get that checked off on the little box on the sheet that we keep. Okay, got another one coming in.
Okay.
I got to say, Laurel, I learned stuff today.
I'm glad I could teach somebody.
How can we request an extension if we are not able to submit on time? You'll need to contact Neil Kelly or Javier. We can't give you the extension. They have to.
Yeah, that's a little above our pay grade.
Yeah. I am confused about how to import attendance hours for this current year because of the periods of participation change. Well, again, the periods of participation don't apply to AEBG. They are working on the report to get that fixed. But you just keep on importing your hours as you have been. And Andrea is asking if she needs extra help, can she call Laurel?
Um,
Diana's posting. Hold on just a second.
okay.
Because they
Sure.
the
You can
request
call
to
Patty anytime.
Yeah, I think they want you to call TAP first or drop an email at TAP. And let's see. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
And Sandy's typing again.
That's good.
And so, Andrea, yes, you can email Laurel at eldero@casas.org.
Giving out my personal
Also,
information.
anyone
Patty.
needing CASAS TAP support, yes, or email it at the AEBG at casas.org, and both he and I see those. Andrea says she thinks she has you already on speed dial.
I believe so, maybe. Okay, Sandy confirming the ABG DIR is changing to not count the POP? The POP periods of participation? Okay.
We always hope, Sandy, but don't worry. While it shows on your data, the data on our end, we can filter it out.
Right. And again, I believe you're in California, Sandy. You can submit the payment points DIR for, if I'm not mistaken, that's what I've heard or been told.
No.
No? Okay.
No.
Never mind.
No. AEBG DIR only.
Okay.
I know. I know what you've heard.
Well, thank you for correcting me, because I would have told everybody, just, hey, send the payment points.
So Andrew, you see Diana's response down there. They do want you to go through aebg@casas.org or go through the contact us on the TAP website.
Yes. Please start with AEBG first. They may give you the correct answer right away.
Yeah. I'll have our little areas of expertise.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other questions from anybody?
No.
No.
Okay, well, hold on. I see a couple more coming. All right. No, I thank you, Gigi, for your time. I thank everybody for spending a few minutes of your day with me and going through the manually creating and importing data into TopsPro Enterprise.
Right, and don't forget, Friday we're going to go through how to clean up your DIR. Veronica, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I think the two of you have covered it. Our upcoming webinar will be Friday at noon, and then we also have another webinar next Wednesday, August 2nd, getting the most out of leveraging your resources. Please be sure to register for that webinar at register.aebg.org. Thank you to Laurel and Patty for an amazing webinar, and we hope to hear from everyone and see everyone at Friday's webinar.